$5,000 a month from a Fidelity portfolio costs one of two things: money or time. Most people don't have both. Which one you're willing to trade decides how much you need to invest to reach $5,000 in monthly dividend income. In this video, I'll show you Josh's 5 Fidelity Index Fund portfolio that makes this happen. I'll walk you through how it's projected to turn $10 a day into a portfolio worth over $1.3 million by year 30, paying more than $5 grand a month in dividend income. And in the end, I'll show you how much it takes to hit that same $5 grand a month in 20 years and in 10 years. But $5,000 a month is just a number on a screen until you stack it next to a paycheck. $5 grand a month is $60 grand a year. The median American working full-time earns just over $64,000 before tax. So this portfolio is doing almost the full work of a median salary. Now, inside of a Roth IRA, every dollar of that $5 grand lands tax-free. No federal income tax, no capital gains tax, nothing. That $64,000 paycheck, it comes home as $52,000 after tax. A Roth paying $5 grand a month actually out-earns the median paycheck. Except this version doesn't stop when you stop showing up. So how does a portfolio pay you $5 grand a month without you working for it? One word: dividends. A dividend is a piece of a company's profit. The company pays it out to the people who own its shares. Own the stock, get the cash. Most big US companies do this. They've been doing it for over a century. Here's why dividends matter for this video. They're part of investing that pays you while you hold the shares. Share prices move up and down. Dividends mostly keep coming. And when you reinvest these dividends instead of cashing them out, they start funding their own growth. Here's what that looks like over 5 years. Josh and Adam each put $10,000 into the same dividend ETF. The fund pays a 4% dividend yield. Share price grows about 6% a year. Same investment, same fund, but one small difference in what they do with the cash. Adam takes his dividends as cash. He pockets the income and lets the share price do its thing. By year 1, Adam's account climbs to $10,600, and he pockets $400 in cash and does not reinvest. Year 2, the account hits $11,236. Year 3, $11,910. Year 4, $12,625. By year 5, his account sits at $13,382. Across those 5 years, Adams collected $2,255 in cash dividends along the way. Combined, about $15,637. Josh does something different. He turns on DRIP, short for Dividend Reinvestment Plan. Every time his dividends pay out, the money automatically buys more shares of the same fund. Those new shares start paying their own dividends the next year. By year 1, Josh's $400 in dividends buys more shares. His account climbs to $11,000. Year 2, those new shares pay their own dividends, which buy even more shares, $12,100. Year 3, $13,310. Year 4, $14,641. By year 5, every dividend has been recycled back into more shares. His account sits at $16,105. Now, even after counting Adam's $2,255 dividends that he cashed out, Josh is still ahead, and the gap is just getting started. That's the loop. Dividends buy more shares. Those shares pay more dividends. Those dividends buy more shares again. 5 years builds a small gap. 30 years builds a different financial life entirely. But the loop only runs as well as the funds inside it. Josh picked 5, each one doing a different job. Up first, the one doing the most. Every portfolio needs an engine, the one fund pulling the most weight, paying you and growing your pile at the same time. In this portfolio, that's FITLX. FITLX is Fidelity's US Sustainability Index Fund. In plain English, it tracks US companies, but only ones that score well on environmental and social practices. Large-cap US companies, filtered for sustainability. Look at what the fund does. A 1.03% starting dividend yield, a 15.42% dividend growth rate over the last 5 years, and a 14.12% annual share price appreciation. And almost no fund in the world pulls all 3 at once. That's why it gets the biggest slot at 40%. Not many funds can do what FITLX does on both metrics at the same level. If the portfolio leaned smaller on FITLX, you'd have to make up the gap with 2 other funds, and those funds would each cost you something somewhere else. FITLX does 2 jobs aggressively. The next fund only does 1, but it does it harder than anything else in the portfolio. FNCMX is the Fidelity Nasdaq Composite Index Fund. Basically, every company listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. Heavy in tech, heavy in growth. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla. That's the neighborhood. And that neighborhood moves. Annual share price appreciation runs at 17.24%, the highest in the portfolio. Now, here's the trade. The dividend yield is 0.46%, almost nothing, and the dividend growth rate sits at 6.91%, the lowest in the blend. So FNCMX builds the pile, but it doesn't pay you for it. That's why the weight is held at 10%, enough to get the appreciation boost, not enough to drag the income side of the portfolio down. FNCMX is here for the share price climb. That's 2 funds down, 3 to go, and after that, I'll show you how this whole portfolio is projected to turn $10 a day into over $1.3 million by year 30, paying out more than $5,000 a month in dividends. Plus, what it takes to hit that same number in 20 years and in 10 years. But first, let's get to the third fund, FDVV. FDVV is Fidelity's high dividend ETF. The name is literal. It buys US companies that pay above average dividends. FDVV starts at a 2.79% yield. Dividend growth runs at 10.85% and appreciation at 9.33%. So the income compounds while the share price keeps up with the market. That's why FDVV gets 20% of the portfolio. It's the bridge between investing for the future and earning income today. 20% gives that bridge enough weight to matter in the early years without crowding out the funds doing heavier compounding work. The fourth fund is FIDI, Fidelity's International High Dividend ETF. Same playbook as FDVV, buy high dividend companies, but the holdings are outside the US, mostly developed market Europe and Asia. International dividend funds usually pay more than US ones. The reason is corporate culture. Companies overseas tend to return more of their profit to shareholders as dividends and reinvest less. Decades of that habit built the gap. So here's what FIDI looks like. A 4.1% starting yield, the highest in this portfolio. Dividend growth at 16.21%, and share price appreciation at 2.11%, the lowest in the blend. That last number is the trade. FIDI's pile won't grow the way FNCMX's or FITLX's pile will, but over 30 years, a 4.1% yield growing at 16.21% per year produces an enormous yield-on-cost climb. The last fund in the portfolio is FSGGX, and on paper, it doesn't look like much. A 2.42% yield, a 15.15% dividend growth rate, a 7.14% share price appreciation. But if you look at this fund next to the rest of the portfolio, nothing here is the standout number for any one job. FSGGX is Fidelity's Global ex-US Index Fund. Ex-US just means everything outside the US. Europe, Japan, emerging markets, the whole world minus America. It tracks the broad international market. No dividend filter, no growth filter, just the index version of the rest of the world. Here's why this fund is the smallest slot, 10%, and why it's still here. The portfolio already has international income exposure through FIDI. What it doesn't have, without FSGGX, is the rest of the international market that FIDI's high dividend filter leaves out. Emerging markets growth, mid-cap international companies, sectors FIDI doesn't touch. 10% gives the portfolio that broader exposure without overlapping the work FIDI is already doing. That's all 5 funds. Each one has a specific job. Now let's see what the blend looks like as one set of numbers, and how those weights actually stack up. Here's what the 5 funds look like in one picture. FITLX takes the biggest slot at 40%. FDVV and FIDI each get 20%. FNCMX and FSGGX round it out at 10% each. Blend the 5 together at those weights, and the portfolio comes out at a 2.07% starting dividend yield, a 13.79% dividend growth rate, and a 10.37% annual share price appreciation. That combination is what does the work in every projection ahead. Now, 3 timelines, 30, 20, and 10 years. 3 different prices for the same destination. Josh starts with the longest timeline, the 30-year path. For this, Josh invests $10 a day with no initial contribution. By the end of year 1, the account is sitting at $3,650, exactly what Josh put in. By year 10, the portfolio is projected at $66,966. Josh has contributed $36,500. The market has added the rest. The monthly dividend is around $131. Still small, but the loop is finally starting to do something. By year 20, the loop really opens up. The portfolio is projected at $313,340, almost 5 times what it was at year 10, and the monthly dividend lands at $884, roughly what a part-time job pays. And by the end of year 30, the portfolio is projected at $1,354,548. Josh has put in $109,500 across the whole 30 years. The market added the other $1,245,048. The portfolio is projected to pay $5,322 a month in dividends every month, paid by a portfolio funded at $10 a day. But here's the thing, most people don't have 30 years to wait. So what would it take to hit that same $5,000 a month 10 years faster? Look back at the 30-year path. The portfolio crossed $66,966 by year 10, $313,340 by year 20, and then $1,354,548 by year 30. Most of that final number, over $1 million of it, got built in the last 10 years alone. That's compounding doing the real work at the end. The longer the runway, the more years the loop has to spiral. Cut the runway down to 20 years, and that final decade of growth never happens. The math has to find that money somewhere else, which means up front. So the daily contribution jumps to 4 times bigger, and you walk in with $45,000 already invested before you put your first $40 in. That starting amount changes the whole game. In the 30-year version, Josh walks in with nothing. In this one, he's walking in with $45,000 already invested. That money is sitting in the market, paying dividends before the first $40 even hits. By the end of year 1, the portfolio is projected at $65,200. By the end of year 10, the portfolio is projected at $417,833. Monthly dividend lands at $831. Then year 20 hits. The portfolio is projected at $1,797,563. Monthly dividend, $5,091. Now here's where the math turns skewed. Cut the runway in half again, and the loop barely has time to spiral. At 10 years, the portfolio can't compound its way to the goal anymore. It has to be bought there. That's for someone who is in their 50s. To achieve $5,000 a month in this time frame, you need to invest $120 a day, and $500,000 already sitting in the account. Now the build. Year 1, the portfolio is projected at $606,020. The monthly dividend is already at $863 because $500,000 was generating income from day 1. By year 5, the portfolio is projected to pass $1 million in account value. The monthly dividend lands at roughly $2,000. By year 10, the portfolio is projected at $2,469,931 with monthly dividends at $5,001. If you look at the portfolio value, it is nearly double the size of the 30-year version's final balance. But the monthly income is roughly the same. Why? Because the loop never had time to spiral. With only 10 years on the clock, most of the income comes from the capital and contributions, not from compounding. The portfolio has to be massive to generate the same monthly check that 30 years of compounding produces on a smaller balance. That's why the price tag looks like this. This path is for someone already wealthy, looking to lock in income fast. A career business owner, a high-earning professional at 50, someone who's been investing for 20 years already and is just flipping the switch from growth mode to income. For everyone else, this is here to show what the price actually looks like at the fast end. If you've got $50,000 sitting around, or you're building to it, there's one ETF that eventually pays you over $8,000 every month. That video is on screen right now.